Okay, quick update. I hit a little bit of a snag with Cosmic Grace Part 2. Someone that I wanted to be in the video sadly could not find the time to do it, and that's fine. I just had to rewrite some stuff and resituate some things, but it's okay. Much love is sent out to him. I completely understand. But I feel a little bad about it, so I found this, and we're gonna do something on it. Yes, we. Alright now, let's go.
Then with me, the horrid doubt always arises.
Now, you start off your argument with a quote mine from Charles Darwin, which I don't mind as much because it's become quite expected from y'all, but it's the image that you coupled the quote with. Now, you do reveal at the end of your quote that this did not come from Origin of Species, but it's the fact that you felt the need to couple it with that image. I'm sure somebody has already, since this video has been released, used that argument referring to the origin of species, and that's a bad thing. But come on, you started off cherry picking. I can't expect this argument to get stronger from here.
Whether the convictions of man's mind, which has been developed from the mind of the lower animals, are of any value or at all trustworthy. Would anyone trust in the convictions of a monkey's mind? If there are any convictions in such a mind?
This 135-year-old cherry seems to be being used to present the idea that Charles Darwin somehow doubted the theory of evolution by natural selection. And yes, this is from a letter to Professor William Graham trying to convey the importance of the effects of natural selection on civilization. But further down towards the part you didn't read, because butthurt, I guess, Darwin makes a fairly decent point using the early European and Turkish power struggle to show how something that may seem impossible isn't always entirely so.
Remember what risks the nations of Europe ran not so many centuries ago of being overwhelmed by the Turks, and how ridiculous such an idea now is. The more civilized so-called Caucasian races have beaten the Turkish hollow in the struggle for existence. Looking to the world at no very distant date, what an endless number of the lower races will have been eliminated by the higher civilized races throughout the world.
In the 17th century, Europe gradually, for the lack of better words, evolved their military forces and achieved the impossible by forcing the Ottoman Empire to cede Hungary to Austria. Yeah, it seems kind of crazy that we evolved from primates, considering how on the surface different we are. But a mountain of evidence would suggest just that. Also, what's the fucking deal with the gunshot? It's so out of place and seems to only be there to evoke a negative response. Here, I'll show you how to use effects properly.
Islamic extremists who only want to destroy lives should just shoot themselves.
This is an excerpt from a letter written in 1881 by Charles Darwin.
Yes, it sure is, which is why I'm still slightly puzzled as to why you chose to display anything from the origin of species. You know, it seems to me that no one who thinks evolution is a lie wants to try to challenge the evidence scientifically. Since exercises in futility don't seem to be their cup of tea, quote mining great men and arguments from incredulity are what are typically offered up. But you know, you should have read the entire letter. You would have had some great things to quote mine. Like the sentence that literally came right before the one you chose to read.
Nevertheless, you have expressed my inward conviction, though far more vividly and clearly than I could have done, that the universe was not the result of chance.
You missed a spectacular opportunity trying to feed that narrative of yours. Or it could have at least added an extra zing when you randomly start talking about the universe later. But you know, maybe next time, champ.
What troubled him was the notion of trusting one's mind. If we had just evolved from lower life forms.
I don't think it really troubled him as much as it intrigued him. I think it troubles you. Not knowing what is going on in the minds of other apes has no effect on me whatsoever. Unless I'm trapped in an enclosed area with one. But apes have been taught things like sign language to help them communicate with us. But again, your argument is rooted in a random quote from a letter that is 135 years old. You know, a time when we would lock people away in institutions for being mentally ill. Now, as science progresses, we are able to not be the monsters we were and try to understand them as human beings We studied minds through careful and calculated experimentation. I don't think it's long before we start to appreciate our fellow apes for what they are and not just see them as a separate entity altogether. I can say without hesitation that the Quran hasn't led anyone to greater understanding of the human mind, let alone of our fellow apes, but the scientific discipline you are shitting on has shed more light on what it is to be human than anything that has come before or since.
If our minds could be reduced down to blind, random, non-rational physical processes, then how could they be rational?
That's a really nice straw man you've stuffed with bullshit, and actually an interesting thing to think about. Sort of. But at the end of the day, does it really matter? See, the funny thing about science is it doesn't care about your feelings, has no ears to listen to your anecdotes, pays no mind to what offends you, and wipes its ass with belief. For all anyone knows, Darwin could have been entirely doubtful about natural selection from day one. But that would change absolutely nothing. If you're trying to disprove evolution, you might want to do more than lazily skim a 135-year-old letter for sections to take out of context, like provide some scientific evidence. Things popping into existence would entirely debunk evolution. So all you have to do is find one instance wherein a species just miraculously came into being, and you'd have your proof right there. No more work. The Quran would be almighty and Allah would be the number one.
Hi, I'm R.
And I'm Jay.
We are the Rational Channel, and it's our turn to take a stab at this.
Oh my god, please do. I don't know how much more of this I could fucking take.
Our minds are truly fascinating. We have mental faculties which outshine all other creatures.
Yeah, that's true, but we are pretty bad at a lot of other things. We can't run as fast as cheetahs, we can't swim as well as dolphins, and we can't reach as high as a giraffe. Animals adapt to their environment through natural selection and evolution in different ways. We just happen to be really good at using tools and problem solving, and those particular adaptations have allowed us to do a lot of cool stuff.
We seem to have cognitive abilities which surpass the requirements of evolution.
What requirements? As far as I can tell, the only requirements for evolution is don't die and reproduce, so anything outside of that would be a bonus, I guess. But given that the intelligence you were talking about has led to humans doubling their lifespan and populating every region of the planet to the point that we are killing off other species, I guess you could say we are just very successful in an evolutionary sense.
Because evolution is about survival, not truth. And you can have false beliefs that lead to survival.
Well, yeah, that's somewhat true. The process of evolution isn't concerned with truth. However, an accurate understanding of the world is an enormous advantage to any organism, so evolution by its nature will produce organisms with greater abilities to navigate reality more accurately. Problem solving is a huge factor in survival situations, and it is what humans are best at. Hence why humans developed a system to objectively analyze the world, instead of just trying to reason things out purely through cognition. Science doesn't rely on a single person's judgment and demands retestability to determine the truth of something. It's as far removed from human fallibility as we're able to get, and an amazing evolutionary adaptation.
This point has also been affirmed by Harvard University professor of psychology, Steven Pinker. He said, "Our brains were shaped for fitness, not for truth."
The human brain is shaped for survival. Good problem solving is important to survival, so humans are good at problem solving. The goal of survival isn't the truth, but in a lot of cases the truth can help with the goal of survival. So our ability to work things out is a byproduct of our desire to survive.
If everything were simply a byproduct of blind, random, non-rational physical processes, then how in the world have we ended up with rational minds?
Through a gradual process called evolution, maybe you've heard of it. Rationality is beneficial to survival. Think about it. Imagine a species of monkey was imbued with the desire to jump off cliffs. That's not a rational decision and would result in the extinction of that species of monkey pretty quickly. Problem solving allows animals to use sticks and tools for collecting insects, up to humans designing ships to allow us to populate more land. This high intelligence can result in humans working on things that aren't essential for survival, but the reason we can do them is because that level of intelligence is beneficial. Just look at the resounding success that the human race has. In regards to why humans are sometimes prone to believing in false things, this is outlined really well by Michael Shermer. Humans are prone to false positives because it can be beneficial to survival. Imagine this. Two humans are foraging around for food in the jungle. A bush rustles. One of them thinks, oh, that must be something that is going to kill me, and then runs away. And the other one thinks, nah, it's probably nothing, and stays. Even if the second person is right 9 times out of 10, they still die the one time they are wrong, and can't propagate their genes anymore. Hence, evolution imbues the tendency to make false positives. As we said before, however, the process of science minimizes this tendency for false positives to allow us to master problem solving, which is far more important now than it was 50,000 years ago when the priority was avoiding getting eaten by something.
To believe that rationality can come from non-rationality is equivalent of believing something could come from nothing.
Nope, that's a false equivalence. Rationality is simply just a reasonable perspective of reality, a perspective that holds consistent with the laws of physics and basic logic. As we just outlined, this type of thinking is not only cogent in light of evolution, it's almost an expected outcome of evolution. On the other hand, physical matter and energy coming into existence from nothing is a question of physics and natural laws, which our rationality hasn't been developed to understand, so we have to apply our accumulated knowledge and scientific method to try and answer that question.
What is more perplexing is that we exist in a universe that can be rationalized.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, but like Jay said, science is the tool used to determine whether or not something is rational. It's true that you can rationalize things to yourself whether or not they happen to be true, but claiming Allah did it doesn't, as of yet, seem to line up with what we observe in reality. The Quran states that stars are missiles to throw at devils, 67:5, and that the moon produces its own light, 71:16. Cosmology can prove the Quran wrong in those two, along with many other scientific errors about the universe we reside in.
Our universe is governed by distinctive laws, and one which is mathematically coherent.
Yes, but the discovery of these laws was a painstaking process of trial and error wherein we discarded bad ideas that didn't stand up against scrutiny and testing. You're willing to dismiss hard-won knowledge in favor of a hypothesis that isn't even falsifiable. That is the definition of being not science. Show me an explanation of Newtonian physics in the Quran. Maybe a part where Muhammad explains particle physics in the Hadith. Anything that is beyond classical age thinking. You must not be using that brain in your chest that Allah gave you. 11:5.
Many have been mesmerized by the rational nature and order of the universe.
Can you feel it? Another quote mine is just beyond my rambling. Send down a canary and make sure we can explore it safely.
This is captured in the statement of Albert Einstein when he said, "What is inconceivable about the universe is that it is at all conceivable."
The fuck, man? How does this prove science is wrong about cosmology or evolution? This is just mental masturbation for the intellectually dishonest. Oh, and this is where that other quote from Darwin would have fit quite nicely. Just saying.
We live in a rational universe. The universe is like a lock, and our mind's the key. And we have the ability to unlock the secrets of the universe.
And yet you have chosen to pick the most preposterous answer as to how the universe and life came to be what we see today. Rationalization, again, does not mean correct. It just means, to you, it makes sense this way. Using the wonderful tools, science, that many great minds have provided for us, we have discovered much more than we ever could have had we had stayed in a state of perpetual barbarism. I feel the Middle East greatly retarded its advancement, considering what it was known for before Islam took over, which was the center of knowledge and discovery. Now it's known for warring factions of religious zealots, all trying to plant their flag on the highest hill.
However, locks and keys are not random. They're designed.
Ugh, why do you lot insist on using non-biological examples? Of fucking course an obviously manufactured object is going to look manufactured. Nothing about humans indicates that we were manufactured. We share so much DNA with a bunch of random shit. Trees, bananas, fucking apes. The design argument has been refuted to no end, and there are tons of videos all over the internet about it. Just go watch Arn Ra's series on creationism if you really want to learn more. I highly recommend it.
So it's as if we are designed to discover.
No, we discover because we want to discover. How the fuck does that imply a design or a designer? These aren't arguments.
Indeed, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the alternation of the night and the day, are signs for those of understanding.
Oh, fuck this. I'm done. This is bullshit. You came back to the fucking Quran for your understanding in the sky. Or whatever the fuck. But before I end this, I want to thank a few people. First of all, TellTale Atheist and ChocolateHat for reading the quotes. I didn't want to overwhelm y'all with my voice. And I fucking hate reading quotes. So thank you guys so much. Subscribe to their channels, links down in the description. Also, I want to thank TheRationalChannel and the band Lorelei. Amazing dudes all around. Bunch of cool guys. Just, subscribe to their channels and shit. And roll the outie.
Thanks for watching, and thanks to eMiner for having us. If you enjoyed our part, subscribe to our channel, watch some of our videos, and work with us to help us raise the bar of public discourse.
How does this prove science is wrong about cosmology or Really?